I guess what I don't like in this day and age as a mixed martial arts fan is the notion that a striking matchup is going to get consideration, Kenny, over a grappling matchup because of its relative entertainment value. Because that's really not what we're about. I mean, it's hard enough for prize fighters and pro fighters that you don't control your own destiny, but now you got to be a certain type of stylist, to headline a card. It seems kind of off, whether it's Paramount Plus 1 or ESPN 371.
I mean, UFC is first an entertainment company, and then second a sport. You know what I mean? It's like entertainment number one. What do the fans want? What are they yelling for? And then number two, all right, will be a sport somewhere in between there. And what they're doing is giving the fans exactly what they want and ask for. And then they'll worry about rankings and who deserves what afterwards.
I think that's accurate. I think that anytime you try to appeal to the lowest common denominator, I think it's a slippery slope, and you got to be careful, because this is a sport at the end of the day. Yes, it is a business, but you want to make sure that you're making the best fights possible, whatever that means. And I think that if you're just going the route of entertainment or action, then you're going to leave out, some amazing fights in the process. We wouldn't have the George St. Pierre's. We wouldn't have the Habib Nurmagomedov.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have the Islam Makhachev if that is all that we chased.
Honestly, somebody have to talk about this. This is what I don't like. Because I remember myself, 2012, when just they signed me, they told me, my friend, your name it's very hard to say your name. You need a nickname. I'm like, what? I have my name. Why I need nickname? And I asked my manager, what is this nickname? What do you mean nickname? I have my name. No, because your name is very hard for them to say. Okay, I take Eagle because it's symbol of Dagestan. But after 6 years, everybody knows my name. They need somebody who talking, who drinking, who show up, all this stuff. You understand? They want these kind of fighters. In end of the day, this is sport, best versus best. Not like best dancer or who have best haircut, fight or who have best followers. They like trash talking, they like entertainment. I understand. It's have to be fair.
Because I know there's going to be diehard athletes, diehard fans, that are going to be not in support of this type of model because they want to see the best fight the best. That's what brought them into the UFC. That's what got me into the UFC. That's why I didn't want to try boxing. I wanted to do MMA because I'm like, I had no desire to be a fighter, but I wanted to start boxing and learn. And then when I saw MMA, I'm like, oh, this actually looks cool. I can actually use my art that I'm really, really good at, which is wrestling. And I get an opportunity to win, not because I have a good manager who is skewing the boxing cards for me because they want to give me a push and maybe I got favored. That's what boxing is like. UFC is, come on, man. I don't want to see it turn into a full-fledged different sport that's similar to boxing. No disrespect to my boxers out there, but you got to call a spade, man.
He's 100% correct. I think what we've gotten away from in this situation is we've gotten away from the sport aspect of it all. And the sport aspect is the best versus the best. And that's the thing that really, I think, bothers a lot of people. And for me especially, it bothers me.
Dana White, I think, understands the rules of the fight game. I don't think the people like Mark Shapiro of TKO do. You are going to hollow out your product doing shit like this long enough. It's not just that you're not meeting expectations. You're just not. The fight business has always been one of manipulation. The fight business has always been one of the promoters massaging stuff to get what they want. It's a part and parcel of what they do. This is hardly some new practice, right? But it feels like there are moments in time where you can't really fuck around with that. And that's kind of what we're getting here. We're getting a lot of that. We're getting fights where there's obvious ways to go a different direction and they just don't go that direction, clearly because they've got some other aim in terms of how they want to generate revenue. They're just extracting wealth out of the bout rather than matchmaking for a real clear sense of who's the best.
My best defense as to why this is happening, and I said it earlier, and it is the theme of what I think the show is today. That is the transition of what Paramount wants for the UFC, and that is entertainment first. And when you got a guy like Diego Lopez he screams entertainment. Now we both know I know who I think deserves a shot at the title. Lerone Murphy. Lerone Murphy, to me, deserves a shot at the title. He's done everything the UFC's asked him, but he doesn't scream entertainment. And Diego Lopez does. And it's just in terms of flipping a fight one week, another numbered event the next week, you got to go with the guy who's gonna sell.
You know, they're kicking off this new era, right? I don't know this, but you got to think this is part of it. $7.7 billion deal. You want as many people as possible to sign up to the subscription. So you put people like Diego versus Volkan. You put Paddy Pimblett versus Justin Gaethje on, right? You put on the most exciting fights you can find. So people go, yeah, shit, I'm signing up to this, which is the equivalent of almost like 1.5 pay-per-views per year, and you get a full year's access. It's a pretty good deal.
Is they're going to try and get this Paramount deal to blow up. So the first 6 months to a year, it's going to be absolute stonkers numbered events, and then see after that, they're not going to care. Let's just make sure this looks like it's a viable deal.
But we fell in love with freak show fights in the beginning, but they also had real fights mixed in. Okay, in the UFC right now, they've gotten rid of the ability to do freak show fights. And then now it should just be the best fighters versus the best fighters. And that's kind of where we're at. So when you're cutting guys that are undefeated in the UFC, haven't lost, they've got wins, like it's setting a precedent that it's not like that's not good enough anymore to be the best. And that's not okay. So if you don't like them because they were boring, but you knew they were kind of boring coming into the UFC, you knew they were just a wrestler, which means that less wrestlers are going to get signed. And the wrestlers are the ones that, I kid you not, they will go out on their shield. Whereas you'll find that a lot of kickboxers, and this is not a dig at any kickboxers, they will turn and give their back, get choked so they can get the fight stopped. If they're getting dominated and destroyed, they'll turn and give their backs to get choked. See it all the time. I don't want to say it is the easy way out. But wrestlers they will fight their asses off. It's in them to grind it out. It's in them to keep pushing.
No, I like a good wrestling scramble. I love it. I like it just as much as a good striking exchange. However, the fans love the striking, the blood, the guts, the spinning, the flying knee, the elbowing, the trying to finish. They love it. So it's a promoter's dream. Guys, I can't tell you enough. It's very well known. The UFC doesn't like certain things. And one thing they don't like is when the crowd is not happy. They don't like the fact that the crowd has to sit there and watch you body lock a guy or hold a guy or pin a guy.
It's just, what is the criteria? That is all I want to know. I just want something that when we come into this sport, because I'm now 36, I got into this sport when I was 24. And merit used to mean something for the most part. The UFC used to be the organization, the best fights the best. Now it's, are you the most popular guy? Because if you're the most popular guy and you can fight just a little bit, we'll throw you in there. As long as you can fight a little bit and beat some of the best guys or beat some favorable matchups that people might know, but it's enough for you to get a highlight win, we'll put you in that spot. And hopefully, if you're lucky, we cash out. I mean, I get the business model of it, but as the athlete, guys, I get the business model of it. I am not the business guy. I am in the business of Aljamain, the Funk Master Sterling. Just like all these other fighters are in it for their own self-interest of their business, of who they are as an athlete. So as a fighter, my vantage point, it doesn't make any sense. Because we come in, we are told the best guys will fight the best guys.
Well, I don't know much about WWE at all, but to the extent that I hear their belly aching, it often these days looks very similar to what you hear from UFC fans, which is that the product is being arranged in ways to maximize dollars or exposure or maybe some local market manipulator. They want to, they want to grow the UK or something like that. But it's not being done because that guy needs to fight that guy because of the way the fight game works. Because if we're doing that, then you could do Armin versus Patty, interim title. You could even do Armin versus Gaethje, interim title. Either of those are fine. But you can't do a fight without Armin.
I honestly don't know, because it's cool for Justin Gaethje, it's cool for Paddy Pimblett, but clearly it doesn't make sense for the division. It doesn't make sense for if you said, okay, Justin Gaethje is gonna fight Arman Tsarukyan, I'd be like, okay, I guess that makes sense. It makes more sense for sure. But like, clearly it's not. It's not a what's the word I'm looking for? It's not a merit thing anymore. So unfortunately, it's become less merit than ever.
That, I mean, you want to do, like, you want Armand to fight, but you just got to say, listen, you're gonna have to wait till the summertime, or whenever the winner of that is ready to fight you, because we can't afford to have you lead this charge. We need a bigger name in that spot, and Armand might be the best lightweight in the world right now. He might be, but
I think he is.
But we can't afford to waste the star on the best guy, and that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate for where our sport is. But without that, we have no sport. That's what we got to understand. We don't have a sport if we don't appease the masses.
It's your responsibility to go out there and do something that fans want to see, like that fans get excited about. I remember when I fought Pettis, I got in the back and I asked for a title shot, and he was an asshole guy, Joe Silva. I was so mad at him. He embarrassed me in front of all his buddies. He goes, "Yeah, you fight like that, you're never gonna get a title shot. You fight like that." And like, I was so pissed off because he embarrassed me in front of a lot of people, but also he was right. You know, looking back in retrospect, he was kind of right. It's like, I won the fight, right? But like, nobody cares you win a fight. Like, your family cares. That's it. The fans want to see something special, something unbelievable. They want to see excitement, blood, guts, and you have to give the customer what they want. So like, if you're not getting the fight you want, you're not getting moved up to the division the way you want, you know, maybe you have to adjust your style to be more, even you can be a ground guy and be exciting, you know. Khabib was very exciting when he took people down and ground and pound it, and he was always working to get a finish, toward a finish. You can do that. Nobody cares about you holding people and winning. Nobody wants to see that.
Listen, I love finance. I don't think if I wasn't in the UFC, I'd be in business. I'd be some kind of entrepreneur. But
Sure.
they went from a $1.1 billion deal with ESPN to a $7.7 billion deal with Paramount. Yeah. We need to make up the difference with entertainment. Like, they're betting big on UFC to bring in the dollars. So the UFC's putting up fights that are going to increase the fan base, increase viewership. So I think like we have to take that into consideration to a certain extent. And I feel like sometimes a lot of the matchmaking is like, which two guys can we put together that give us a great fight? Not necessarily, who deserves it the most.
I'm saying on some level, I have watched boxing do this. Boxing is in a terrible, terrible, terrible position because it was a death to their sport and a death to their fan base by 1,000 cuts. But it's this almost in real time, imperceptible way in which you're hollowing out the product. But then after 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years or more, you begin to see like, wow, dude, there's a major cost.